week was the only week I forgot. I apologize. Yes, there are two brachot. Quickly, let me see if I can find Barry. What page? Let me get my husband to do this while I talk. Barry, what page is that? 242. Okay. Okay. Okay.
How was that bat mitzvah? Did you go to your granddaughters or grandsons? Arlene Fisher.
Arlene, where are you? Yes, Arlene. Unmute yourself so we can hear.
Bar mitzvah.
Thank you for. It's next weekend. So I will not be here next.
We didn't miss it yet. We didn't miss it. Is it tomorrow or a week from tomorrow?
A week from tomorrow.
From tomorrow. Okay.
Yes,
So next week, I don't know if we're going to see you, but we do wish you a very hearty mazel tov, all of us. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Last week, and now we'll go back to Arlene's question. Last week, we did the brachot. There's two brachot that you do. And I watched a TV program on Hallmark that it was all about Hanukkah and Christmas. And they only did the first one, which is not unexpected. I expected that. The Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah. The second one was Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim la'avotenu b'yamim ha'em b'zman hazeh. Okay, the two that you're supposed to do every day. And then you do the Shehechianu the first day. And I did mention, and if you look in your Siddur, you'll see after those three brachot, there's a paragraph that says, in Sim Shalom, it says, after lighting the lights. Okay, because what we do is we light the shamash, we do the brachot, then we light the rest of the candles. There is a whole paragraph that you're supposed to do. Hanerot halalu anachnu madlikin al hanisim va'al haniflaot va'al hachuot va'al hamilchamot, etc., etc., etc. We actually do it in our house. Not everybody does it. It is supposed to be done. We did not do it last week because I thought it was just too much. So it is there. If you have any, even I know they used to put in some of the candles, they would put a card in and with the brachot. So in case you didn't know them or have them written down. And I don't know if they do that anymore. Mars did not come with it this year, so I don't know. They will probably have that paragraph also, because it is the paragraph that you're supposed to do about Hanukkah. And then what do you do after that? What's the next thing we do sometimes? And even if you don't do that, what's the next thing you do?
Sing.
Sing. After we say the blessings, what do we generally break into?
Songs.
But what songs?
Oh, rock
Pages.
Yeah. Not sure.
Exactly. Thank you. Exactly. And then there are other Hanukkah songs.
Is that in here?
On you're on the Slim Shalom. 1 second. I have the full one. It's on page 242. Let me see if I can find it. And it's a weekday service, lighting candles. It's right after counting the Omer.
308, I think. 308.
308. Good. Thank you.
I think.
And to do Shalom also?
In left Shalom, it's on
429. 429.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, yes. Good. After the candles are lit. Good. Yes, in the Slim Shalom, that's where it is, 307 and 308. And it does go right into Magsor after. But you can see the paragraph on top if you're on page 308. You see that if you turn to 307, you see the three brachot. And then you turn to 308 and you'll see that paragraph, Arlene, that you were referring to.
Thank you. I thought you'd go right into eating the latkes.
Well, you see, I can tell you don't have any young children around, because what do they do before going into eating the latkes?
They open up presents.
Thank you. At our age, generally, we go to the latkes. Exactly. Okay. All right. We're missing a few people, but I hope they're doing something wonderful. It's okay. We're going to start because it's now 10:08. Okay, we were up to, I think, starting the Amidah, but my husband got involved in this story again, and he said, "What are you going to teach?" And I sort of said we were continuing in the book, and he said, "Well, you know that this weekend is Hanukkah and Rosh Chodesh. So one of the groups of prayers or piece of the service that we do on Hanukkah as well as Rosh Chodesh is Hallel. And Hallel is a fun thing because we do sing a lot of it. We don't sing all of it, but we sing a lot of it. So I decided, unless I have a revolt on my hands, which is possible, and that's okay, you can do that. I'm not against it, of doing part of Hallel instead of going into that meet at this point. We do Hallel on the 3 pilgrimage festivals, on Hanukkah and Rosh Chodesh, and some people do it, I think, also on Yom HaAtzmaut. On Rosh Chodesh, we do a half Hallel. We do part of it, not the whole one. Originally, I was looking in my Lev Shalem, and they said originally it was only the and also Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. It was not done on Hanukkah originally or Rosh Chodesh, but those were later additions. But we know, I don't know, one of the reasons it's done on Hanukkah and it's done for all 8 days, which it's not on Pesach, is that Hanukkah is actually imitation of Sukkot. Sukkot is a dedication, and Hanukkah, because they couldn't do the Sukkot that year in the temple, when they did Hanukkah, it's a lot of imitation of Sukkot. And that actually is the reason that it's 8 days. It's not because of the oil. I know, as people told my husband, the kid, when he told them this story, they said, now you wreck to Hanukkah, and I bet the next thing you're going to wreck Purim. And he could do that too. But Hanukkah actually was because of the victory, not because of the the oil. The oil story doesn't come until about 300 years later, because the rabbis didn't like the Maccabees, because they actually turned eventually, as much as they were zealots for Judaism, they became part of the Greeks and whatever. So they didn't really like the Hasmoneans. So they didn't want to have them the focal reason of Hanukkah. So they have the oil story, which is a lovely story, and that's okay. But that's why we do a full Hallel on Hanukkah. We're going to get to the Hebrew in 1 second. On this Shabbos, we are going to have 3 Torahs. So if you're in shul, there's going to be a lot of Hagbas and Glilas, because give me one reason why you have 1 Torah on this Shabbos morning. Everybody unmute for now. 1 Torah. You can pick any one of the 3. I gave you the hint already.
The regular Torah readings.
Thank you very much. 1 is Shabbat. That's the one. Now, what's number 2? I already gave you the
Rosh
answer.
Chodesh?
Rosh Chodesh. Thank you very
Chodesh,
much. Special Rosh Chodesh meeting. Now, what's the 3rd one?
Hanukkah.
Thank you, Hanukkah. See, I knew you get it. So that's it. So you're having 3 different Torahs. We have the same a number of aliyot, I think, but 3 Torahs. So it's going to be a little bit longer this Shabbos, with Hallel and with the 3 Torahs. Okay, so I have actually the page in all of the books, and the Slim Shalom, which many of you have. It begins on page 133. On the Lev Shalem, it begins on page 316.
Wait a minute.
And if you have the complete Sim Shalom, it's on 380. If anybody needs it again, I'll tell you. Sim Shalom, it's 133. And 316 in the Lev Shalem, the red book. Okay. If you look on the page before, you'll see the excuse me, brachot for when we have the lulav and etrog. That if it's Sukkot, we start the Hallel with the brachot for the lulav and etrog. But we don't have one on Hanukkah, so we start with a regular Hallel prayer. I'm going to read it. It's basically our formulaic bracha, except for the very end. But I will read it first, and then I'll ask for a volunteer just to go over it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et Hallel. Hallel, sorry. Okay, we're reciting. Likro is rather than when we say lahadlik for lighting. This is not lighting, this is reciting. So it's the likro for reciting et Hallel. Do I have any volunteer that would like to just read it? Because we have usually in most places, thank you, Arlene, I'm going to call on you 1 second. The Shaliach Tzibor, the prayer leader will read it first. We say Amen, and then we repeat it ourselves as a congregation. Arlene Schwartz, are you going to be brave?
I'll try.
You
Okay.
can.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro et ha'halel.
Perfect. Thank you. And obviously most of it is the prayer formula, but then it ends differently. Thank you. And but you can see the fluency of just even reading the bracha, the part of the bracha, the beginning part. You read it very fluently, and but that's why I say to look at it though too, because you could probably do it without looking at it, but this way you look and see what it looks like. Okay, now I'm not going to do all of it, and I'm going to try to focus on the parts that we do out loud, because the silent part you can read in Hebrew or in English, but at least the parts where we do it as a congregation, it'd be nice to be able to sing. So I am going to actually skip the first paragraph and go to Bitzeit, which is the second paragraph after the bracha in either book that you're looking at. Okay, and I'm going to read, and then we're going to read together. We read each of it. You're going to volunteer. Bitzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'am lo ez. Haita Yehuda the Kocho Yisrael Mam Shlotav Hayam Ra'ah Vayanos Hayarden Yisov La'achor. And I'm going to try to sing it just so you can maybe recognize it. B'tzeit Yisrael mi Mitzrayim Beit Yaakov me'am lo ez. Haita Yehuda lekocho Yisrael mam shlotav hayam ra'ah vayanos hayarden yisov la'achor harim rakadu elim yiva'ot kinetzon. Does it sound familiar a little? Mm-hmm. Okay. So if somebody would like to read. Celia, please.
Ba'et Yisrael mi Mitzrayim Beit Yaakov mi ma im laos.
Good. Okay, just before it's a period, I'm going to stop you for 1 minute. When we first learn the alphabet, there are some excuse me, letters that are very similar in looks, and and we often get them confused. The resh and the dalet are one of them, and another one which can be problematic is the ayin and the tzadi. And the
Yeah.
tzadi is the second letter in bitzeit, okay, and it's also in mi mitzrayim.
Raim, yeah.
And then we get to Beit Yaakov. That's the ayin. You can see they're very similar, actually, but they're pronounced very differently. The ayin actually in Ashkenazic Hebrew is not pronounced. I'm sorry, is not pronounced at all. It's almost like the aleph. It only has the vowel that's underneath it, what you hear. In not Sephardic, but whatever. It'll come to me in a minute. It's got like a gutter also. It's got it does actually have a sound, but we don't say that. So I think you can use it as a just as it carries a vowel. It doesn't have a sound itself.
Okay.
But those two letters are a little confusing. So just gonna Bitzeit Yisrael Mi Mitzrayim. Does anybody know what Mi Mitzrayim is? When we
Egypt.
hear it, you don't even have to know what it means. When do we hear about Mitzrayim?
Wandering in the desert.
Right, exactly.
Wandering in the
That's right. And we hear about it in the story, and we hear about it in the Haggadah. Sometimes in some of the Haggadot, actually, they don't even translate it as Egypt. They don't translate it at all. They say Mitzrayim because that was a particular time and a particular people at the time of our, and yes, Cindy.
I have a question. In
Sure.
Mitzrayim, there's a dot in the second mem. Does that
That
have
goes with the same one. We've done that letter, but that before. If you really read it correctly, you read the mem twice in both syllables. Mim Mitzrayim, but you don't really. It's too much to do that. But grammatically, that's what it is. The mem is part of the first syllable and the second syllable.
Oh, okay.
You won't read it that way, but you'll see that it's not infrequent that it's like that. If you go above, I can see it this jumps out at me. In the paragraph above, in the fourth line, if you're using the Lev Shalem, it says, Lirot Bashamayim Uva'aretz. The Shemayim, it's in the Shin also, there's a dot. Do you see it?
Which line? I'm sorry, I'm in Sim Shalom.
You're at Sim Shalom, I'll tell you exactly where it is then, 1 second. If you the first paragraph, if don't count hallelujah, and go up 4 lines.
In the first, wait,
The next to last word is Bashamayim Uva'aretz is the end of that line.
oh, I
And
see
you
it.
can
Okay,
see in
yes,
the Shemayim, there's a dot and the
Right.
shin.
right.
Same story.
Mhm.
You'll see it occasionally. There are certain consonants that it's in. Of course, in the bet, it does change the sound, and the kufa changes the sound. It's in the pay also. It
Right.
changes the sound from pay to pay. But the shin and the mem are 2 that I can think of right. Oh, and if we get to, okay, the third line go to bitzeit, the one we were just reading, Yisov, it has a dot in there too. See, once you know it, once you see it, then you see it you see it in a lot of places. And that's exactly what it is. It's a grammatical thing. It actually should be, that consonant should be in both syllables, but we don't really read it that way.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for asking. You're paying attention. Okay.
So could you go over that first word? So it's ha, mamish,
Oh, you know, it's very funny because you noticed that I didn't read that word. It is not an easy word. And I'm trying to figure out why it's so hard.
I'm sorry.
No, there was a reason. It's hamash pili. It's really a hard word to say. Must be li. It's a hard word. Good news is you never have to say it out loud because I don't think that paragraph is ever read out loud, except until the Shliach Tzibor starts, ends that paragraph. But we don't. It's not out loud the whole paragraph. A lot of the stuff in Hallel that is not read out loud is the stuff that we don't read on Rosh Chodesh. Seems like that we read this. If we're going to do it a lot, that's the one we sing or we say out loud. And also, there's just a lot of prayers that we don't read out loud. Some we do, some we don't. Okay, so I would like to see the second line after B'tzeit, the second sentence, if anybody would like to volunteer. Celia,
Okay. After bit say. Ata Yehuda.
wait. I don't know which. Yeah, it's in this both books. Not the first. The first letter word. The first line starts with B'tzeit. The second line starts with Haita.
Okay.
Ata Yehuda.
Good.
The card show
Good.
Yisrael me.
Mom.
I don't have light, so I can't see them.
Yeah.
Mom
Hard.
Shalatav.
Good. I realized I forgot to read that. Yes, one of those things that your parents used to tell you about the value of good lighting when you're young. It doesn't matter, but as you get older, it matters a lot whether you have good lighting. I just realized I didn't read that line. I'm going to read it just to hear it. Haita Yehuda lekodsho Yisrael mam shlotav. Okay. The next line is Hayam Ra'a Vayanos Hayarden Yisov La'achor. Now I need a volunteer. Hey, Eileen, and then Joyce, I'm going to get you next. Eileen?
Hayam Ra'a Vayanos Hayarden
Good.
Hayarden Yishov Lahor.
Good. The other thing I
Lahor.
said. That's right. But Yisov, not Yishov. That's not a shin or a sin. It's Yisov. Good. Perfect. Okay. Somebody else volunteered and I forgot already. Joyce, was it you? Joyce, see, I remembered. Okay. I'm going to wait. I'll read the next line. I don't want to make it harder for you. Ha-harim rakadu che'elim givaot kivnei son. Okay. Joyce.
Harim
Good.
Rakdu
Che-
Ke'elim.
No dot.
Che'elim
Good.
Givarot Kivnei
Good.
Son.
Perfect. That's it. So, okay. We're going to finish this one. Ma lecha hayam ki tanus. Ha yarden tisov la'achor. I have a volunteer. Come on. Cindy, thank you.
Well,
No, before the one I just read. Ha-harim.
oh, okay, I'm sorry, jumped down one.
That's okay.
Harim, rock, do, Kielim, give oat, kivnei, zone.
Good, good. Don't be so afraid. Great. Okay. I'm going to read the next line. First I'm going to sing it, actually. It's hard for me. Malachayam, Malachayam, Gitanus, Gitanus, Hayardet, Hayardet, Iso, La'achor. Okay, because that we almost, I think everybody sings. Malachayam, Gitanus, Tanus, Hayarden, Tisob, La'achor. I have a volunteer. Yes, Arlene Schwartz.
Ma lecha
Good.
hayam ki tanus hayar den
Good.
ti sov le'ahor.
Perfect. Good. Yarden is Jordan, just as a point of information. Okay. Good. Now I'm going to read the next line. Ha harim tir kadu ka'elim. Give out. Give notes, and you just read that one. Mi lifnei adon chuli aretz. Mi lifnei Eloha Yaakov.
Oh,
I have a volunteer. No, no volunteers. I'm not going to force anybody. Okay, I'm going to read it one more time then. I'll do my part. Mi lifnei Adon chuli aretz. Mi lifnei Eloha Yaakov. Okay. Adon is again from the Lord, and Adon can be a person or God. It depends on the context. Okay, and Eloha actually is also God. It's a possessive form of Elohim. Okay, I'm going to read the next line. Ha-hofi hatzur agam mayim chalamish lemaino mayim.
Can you sing it now?
What? You want to
Can
sing it?
Can you
Sure.
sing it?
Sure. I'm going to try to do the whole thing, the last part. Malachayam, Malachayam, Gitanus, Gitanus, Hayardet, Hayardet, Tisov Lachor, Eharim, Dirkaduch Elim, Give out, Give Netzon. I lost it. Milifnei, Uli Aretz, Milifnei, Elohai Yaakov. Hafiatur, Hafiatur, Agamayim, Agamayim, Palamish, Palamish, Lemaino Mayim. Bad, 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 bad. Sometimes I'm better than others. This is hard because actually this is one where the congregation sort of chimes in or we repeat. When we talked about, how do you know when you repeat? You don't know until you go and you hear it. And this is one of those that you repeat. Okay, I'm gonna try one more. Okay, which one should we try? Okay, we're gonna try the next page. We're gonna turn to page 317. And it's the second paragraph, and it's on 134. You just have to turn the page one page. Either 317 or 134. Okay. And we're gonna do the second paragraph because as I said, the first paragraph is not said on Rosh Chodesh or the days of Pesach, and we don't sing it out loud. That's a prayer that we do. These are all Psalms, by the way, and we do that silently. Okay, so but the next, and this is very funny because the first line is sort of doesn't fit. It's like an introduction. So you say Adonai. The leader will say Adonai Zacharanu Yevarech, and then we all go in with Yevarech et Beit Yisrael, Yevarech et Beit Aharon, Yevarech Yirei Adonai, Haktanim im Hagdolim, Yosef Adonai Alechem, Alechem ve'al B'nechem, Beruchi atem ladonai, Ose shamayim va'aretz, shamayim ladonai, va'aretz natan livnei adam, lo hametim hallelujah, ve'loko yardei duma, va'anachnu nivarech ya, me'ata v'yad olam, Yevarech V'anachnu nevarech ya me'ata ve'ad olam. Hallelujah. Okay. Does it sound a little familiar? Even the way I sing it, it's a little bit. Okay. So,
What
It
does
sounds very
Vanachnu mean?
excuse me, Arlene, I didn't hear you.
What
Schwartz,
does-
Arlene.
Joyce first. I think it was Joyce was speaking.
What does, like, right above hallelujah, Vanachnu, what does that word? We hear it a lot. I know you told us.
Us or we.
Okay.
And that's why you have the new ending on a lot of the words, because the new comes from anachnu, and a lot of our prayers, actually, I think most of our prayers are actually done in first person plural rather than singular. So you'll hear, you're absolutely right, Joyce. You'll hear that a lot. You're anachnu a lot, and you hear the new ending a lot, Eloheinu. For example. And actually, a lot of these words we know. Yevarech is from Baruch. Okay, and at Beit Yisrael, it's the house of Israel. Yevarech at Beit Haron is the house of Israel. Bless that. Will you please, bless the house of Aaron. Yevarech Yirei Adonai. Bless those who revere or have awe for God, for the Lord. Haktanim im Hagdolim. What does it say? The lowly and the great. It's like the little ones and the big ones. Katan and Gadol, we learned if we went to religious school. So it's the low ones and the high ones. Yosef Adonai Elohechem. Joseph. Oseh Shamayim va'aretz. Who made the heavens, the Shamayim, and the earth. Haaretz. Hashamayim again, the heavens are the heavens of the Lord. Hashamayim, Shamayim Ladonai. Haaretz Natan Livnei Adam. The land, the country, the world, he gave to the children of mankind. Okay, so some of those words we actually do know. And you see anachnu, yes, a lot, and it ends with anachnu navarech. And we bless, okay? We bless God till forever. Olam is for either the world or forever. Hallelujah. And that's what the Hallel is basically just praising God, that for the great things we have, and we do that on holidays. Okay. Do I have any volunteers that would like to start reading a little bit?
I have a question on it.
Yes,
On
sure.
the next to the last line, you did. I wanted you to go over the meaning of them. I'm glad, because I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Is it domach? And what does that mean on the?
Duma. Let me see.
Is it domach?
Duma.
Okay,
H,
Duma.
the simple H. No, that a few times we get in trouble because that's really it doesn't have a sound. Let me see. The dead do not celebrate. Oh, and all those who go down to the grave, it looks like is what it is, because it says the Metim we also have in the Kedusha. That's the dead people, and in the Kedusha we actually say there's going to bring the dead back to life. Mate is dead, death. So that if you look and you can sort of, it's nice when you know, if you know some of the words, even when you look at the English, you can sort of figure out the other words.
No, I
Yeah.
appreciate doing the meeting. That was what I
And you
wanted.
just-
Thank
so,
you.
you know, we're not going to do every word, but
No,
if there are things that we see on a regular basis, it's
Right.
nice to have some idea of what we're saying. Thank you. Okay, good. Okay, any other questions before, or any other question about Hallel, about Rosh Chodesh, about Hanukkah? No, about it. Hallel. Okay. Does I have a volunteer that will do a little reading? The beginning part is not so hard.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Cindy.
Starting with Adonai.
Sure, why not?
Adonai Zivarach. Zivarach Nu.
Good.
Yiva Reich.
Good.
Yiva
Good to know
Reich.
that. That one's going to show up a lot.
Yiva Reich.
Good.
Yiva Reich.
Mhm.
Nate. My name. Bait.
Good.
Yisrael.
Good.
Yiva Reich. Et.
Good.
Bait. Wait. Aharon.
Exactly. Aharon. That's Aaron in Hebrew is Aharon. Good. Good. It's the sounds are a little tricky, but okay. You want to try one more line, or you want to give up this
I can
position?
do it.
Good.
Yiva
Again,
Reich.
same word. Good.
Wait. Year A.
Good. Good. Exactly.
Adonai.
Yes.
Chakta Nu. Wait, not no.
Yes. Yes. Aktanim.
Nim.
Good.
Okay. Im Hagdolim.
Good. And the kakatanim, the little ones, and and the big ones. It also, im is also, or with. With. Okay, Yosef. Do I have a volunteer for Yosef? I'll read it. Okay. Arlene. Sure. And then Joyce.
All of a sudden I lost the line.
Yosef,
Which
which starts
line?
with it. So like the fifth line down, I think, in that paragraph. If you include the Adonai in the beginning.
Okay. Yosef Adonai El
Ah,
Al Yah Chem.
where the yud is after the lam, not before. It's aleichem. You see aleichem. For everybody.
Okay. And then the next word's Alechem.
Good. See, you got it already. That was good. Good. That's it. Take advantage. You can get it. You can get it.
V'al Be Bina
Benachem.
Chem.
The same
No.
sound as in the other one.
Benachem.
The same. That's right. That's why you have to be careful when you read, because then you recognize it. Because if you read Aleichem, it has to be Benechem, because it's the same. It looks the same. Good. I
Benachem.
think
Yeah.
good. Joyce, you volunteered to go next, I think.
Baruchim.
Good.
Atem.
Good.
Ladonoi.
Good.
Oseir.
What? Read it again.
Osei.
Oset.
Oset.
Osei is fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Oset. Shamim.
Remember, there's a yud there. There's a yud there.
Okay, so that's where I always get confused. This is good. I have this word in.
Because if it doesn't, because the yud has a dot underneath it, so that's why it's read as a consonant, not as a vowel. When it has a vowel underneath it. Okay, and you'll see other times when it doesn't. So after you read it, I'll look at it. Okay. Oseh.
So it's Oseh Shamayim.
Good. Shemai. But look,
Shamayim.
but remember we learned about the metek? It's shamayim because the metek is over the under the mem. So usually it's the last syllable. I only say this because we have learned some of these things. Me too. So I want to remind us that we learned that usually it's on this, the emphasis on the last syllable, but when we have the metek, it's under that syllable. So it's shamayim.
Shamayim.
Good.
Va
Baaretz.
Baaretz.
But aretz, exactly. There's another metek under the aleph. Okay. So wherever I'm trying to think, okay, Shemayim is down below. I'm trying to find another word where it doesn't have the yud, doesn't have a vowel underneath it.
So the metek is that little
Hallelujah does
straight
too.
line? Is the metek that little straight line?
Yeah, the straight line, exactly. Yeah, and that then we're and thanks to Cindy, I think Cindy is the one that really brought up the idea of which syllable gets emphasized, and we learned which one gets emphasized. Yes, Cindy.
Why is it Oseh and not Osei? I thought the snake eyes were A.
It is an A, but when it doesn't have a yud, it's sort of a soft. If you hear people speaking, like really speaking Hebrew, it's harder than the N, but it's not as hard as the A. When you the A, the long A is really when you have a yud after it. So it shouldn't be A really. It should be A, but it's like, do you hear the difference between A or or A?
So
A.
S sounds more like an EH to me than
It's-
AH.
No, the two dots are the F. The one on the one underneath each other. The ones next to each other are A. Like it's A, but it's not A. It's not a hard sound. However you say it, it's close enough. And I'm not saying this to pander to you or to look down. It is okay, but because it's a hard sound to say. It's not a sound that we have so much in English. It's an A, but it's not without the yud. It's not as long as it would be with the yud. That's the difference.
Okay. This is
It doesn't have
Ashkenazi,
the
right?
Y on it. It's the A, but it's not A. So it's.
Okay.
But either way, it's honestly it's fine.
And what's it-
I think that something like saying a hey, an H instead of a ch is important. I think saying the O sound instead of the ah, where we have the long thing, is important. This is like it's playing, it's pill pull, if you know what I mean. It's
Okay.
hard to be exact. If you say A, it's fine. If you say A, nobody's going to look at you funny. It's just if the exact way is a little softer, that's all.
Okay. And this is Ashkenazi or Sephardic?
This is Sephardic Hebrew.
Right.
We used to learn Ashkenazic Hebrew. Ashkenazic Hebrew, we've discovered probably is the more correct way because it's more defined. There's more sounds. So probably where there's more sounds is more correct because then they got sort of mushed together after. So we used to read Ashkenazic Hebrew. If you have older people in your congregation, they will oftentimes read with the Ashkenaz or people that came from whatever Europe. When Israel the state of Israel was developed, was formed, when was the constitute, whatever, they use Sephardic Hebrew. And so to identify with Israel, we decided we would and we also brought over a lot of Hebrew teachers from Israel. And that's when I first started learning Sephardic Hebrew, when I had a teacher in Hebrew school from Israel. So then we started doing Sephardic Hebrew. It probably is not the correct one, but that's the one most of us do in our shuls, I think.
Okay. Thank you.
Arlene Schwartz.
What, can you don't have to do it this minute, but that sound turning to the could you indicate to me when it occurs? But you don't have to do it this minute.
just telling what it looks like. It looks, in our books, it shows what it looks like. Either it has the T and it's long in the middle instead of short, or
Okay.
it has a line with a dot underneath it. In the Sim Shalom, I think it's a line with a dot underneath it.
Okay.
In the Lev Shalem, it's the middle part is longer. So, any other questions?
Unchanging with whoever wrote the book. Why isn't it uniform?
Why? The same way. Why don't we know how to spell Hanukkah? The same.
All right. Okay.
Because actually, normally the vowel would that particular vowel would just look like a T. But the people that did our prayer book said, you know what? We are not such grammatical experts, and the people that are using this are not such grammatical experts. We want to make it easier for them. So we're gonna show when it has the different sound. It only is because they made it easier. It's not really the vowel. The vowel is really just looks like a T.
Okay, and the T sound, right?
And
Unless it's a long T or a
without
dot.
a long line, it's just an sound, exactly. But in Ashkenazic Hebrew, it does have it has the sound, not the sound. Instead, when you see Baruch if you say Baruch instead of Baruch, that's Ashkenazic Hebrew. But we read it as an ah.
Judy, I thought it was like with the S or the T sound at the end of a word. Like
Also, exactly right. That's the other sound that is very different. The S or the T. That's exactly right. Those are the two differences, I think. I don't know if there's any other differences. I think those are the only two that are, they're the two that stand out to me. I can't think of another difference, but they come up a lot though. You can hear people and then if you have people that really are really old world, they say oi instead of o. Boy, my father used to do that. So that's another altogether issue. Yeah, okay. So any other questions about Hebrew or holidays or whatever, or about our Sidurim? Okay. Let's see what time, 10:50. Okay.
Wow.
We learned a lot. Okay, let me see. I'll see if we'll do any bravery with, okay. Yes, we will. We'll turn 2 more pages on 319 and Lev Shalem and 136 and the Sim Shalom. Either 136 or 319, whichever book you're near that page.
What is?
Okay, I'm going to read the top line.
What's the page in Sim
What?
Shalom, please?
Sim Shalom, it's 136.
Thank you.
2 pages, I think you have to turn. And it's 319 in the others. Okay, at the top of the page. Yes,
And
at the
what-
both top.
What are we looking for?
You're looking at the top of the page, either on 319 or 136, near wherever you were before. It's it.
For Hallel?
You came in a little late, Andrea. Yes, we're doing
Yeah.
Hallel because we do Hallel every day of Hanukkah and on Shabbos and Sunday. My husband signed us to go on Sunday also. We do Hallel every day of Hanukkah and Rosh Chodesh, and Rosh Chodesh is Saturday and Sunday this month. Okay, so we're at the top of the page. Hallelu et Adonai. Kol, you see the long, there it is, where there's the sign, the symbol, whichever book you're using. Kol goyim shabchu kol ha'umim. Ki gavar aleinu chasto ve'emet Adonai la'olam. Hallelujah. I was thinking we sing this. Hallelujah Adonai. Kol goyim shabchu Komim ki gavar aleinu Aleinu chasto ve'emet Adonai le'olam. Hallelujah. Okay, I have a volunteer to read. Thank you, Celia.
Oh, good.
Hallelujah et Adonai. Kol goyim
Good.
shav.
Shav.
Shav. That's E-Y-O who Kol ha-umim.
Good. We don't see that vowel so much. Yes, good. Goyim. Goyim. We now is pejorative a little bit, but goy just means nation. Goyim are nations. All of the nations. Okay.
Oh.
Okay. Now, yes, Cindy.
Sorry,
No
one,
problem.
2, 3, fourth word over.
Yeah.
Shav, chi, u, hu.
Shab hu. Shab hu.
Oh, okay, I'm reading that as 2 dots going down. That's just the accent to emphasize. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I have a really
yeah.
hard time differentiating 2 dots
Yeah,
down from a long
it's
line.
hard. The vowels are hard. There's no question, because they're small. They're not so big, honestly. Yeah, but that's what it is. Shavu. Okay. Now the next lines, we do this a lot, and it's not hard. And I'm going to get a volunteer, but I'm going to read. And if you're in the Lev Shalem, it actually shows you where you shake the lulav and the etrog on these lines. That's what the symbol is. Hodu ladonai. Oh, well, before I get to that, Aleinu. Remember we talked about anachnu? That Aleinu is another word we'll hear a lot, and it's besides the name of the prayer because it's on us. That's the new ending again. We talked about the first person plural, okay? Hodu ladonai ki tov, ki laolam chasto. Yomar na Yisrael, ki laolam chasto. Yomru na Beit Aharon, ki leolam chasto. Yomru na Yirei Adonai, ki leolam chasto. Okay. Ki leolam. The chasto comes from. Does anybody recognize where it possibly could come from? Take the leave the O off because that's his. Chesed. Okay, we talk about God's chesed. We talk about loving kindness. So chasto is his loving kindness. We're talking about God. Okay, and la'olam is forever. All of this is forever. Okay. So now, do I have a volunteer to read? This is not. Yes, Arlene Schwartz, and then Joyce.
Hodu
Good.
la Adonai ki tov ki
Good.
le'olam hasdo.
Good. Second line also.
Yo mar na Yisrael ki le'olam hasdo.
Good. Joyce.
Yomru na Beit Aharon.
Good.
Ki leolam chazdo.
Yes, it's a but that's just to do because you're reading so well. I can be picky. It's an S, simple S. It's not a Z. It's an S. Chasto. Okay.
Chasto.
Good. Yeah. One more line.
Yomru na Yarei Adonai ki leolam chasto.
Good. And for Cindy or who keeps us honest, it's Yirei And that one has the Yud, year A. And it's Ki Le'olam. Okay, Cindy? Am I doing okay here? You got it? Good, good. Okay, so we're doing great. Any other questions? It's already 11, almost 11 o'clock. I didn't realize what time it was. Any other questions, comments, criticisms?
What are we doing next week?
Next week, we're gonna go to the Amida, I think.
Okay, all right.
If it's okay with everybody else, I think we're gonna get started on the Amida. Hey, that's what, yes, Cindy.
This has nothing to do with Hebrew, but I have a cute
That's
story.
okay. Good.
Is this a good time?
Yes, good. We
Okay,
have 2
so-
minutes. I'd like to stop early, a little bit early so we can take advantage. Yes.
Okay, so I was shopping in Whole Foods the other day, and I was buying something at the display case. Obviously, I don't keep kosher, and I see these beautiful crab cakes on, for sale. And in front of the crab cakes was a sign, a Hanukkah favorite.
I have to tell you, even I never heard of that, even with people that don't keep kosher. I never heard of that as being something that people, I mean,
Well, and they
you know.
sell items for Hanukkah. I mean, and for it makes no sense. My dad thought I should say something to the manager. I don't know.
well, sometimes I do. Sometimes I say things when the supermarket puts out matzah for every Jewish holiday. That's like,
Right, yeah,
people aren't really going to buy that for